Good afternoon. My name is Siana Teelucksingh, and I'm a project manager with the Clinton Climate Initiative. So the Clinton Climate Initiative initially started pursuing projects in the Caribbean based on diesel replacement remit. This program has evolved into the Resilient Community Program, and now we've partnered with the Rocky Mountain Institute and Carbon War Room, who are doing similar work in the Caribbean, but we found our remits were overlapping quite a bit. So instead of doing separate work and in some way confusing government with with inundating them with different people coming to do similar things, we joined forces, and now we act as a team, and we pursue the playbook process, where we really involve utilities to communicate with government to develop an integrated resource plan. What that means, and what that means for ratepayers and citizens of the Caribbean, is that by implementing renewables in a strategic way, and by understanding the technical resources and the grid limitations, instead of just incorporating renewables ad hoc, we implement them sustainably and effectively, and we streamline the process so that it will result in reduction in tariffs for ratepayers and consumers, as well as reduced complexity with operation at the grid management level. In the Caribbean, some of the main challenges we face is that we're a small, isolated island, separated geographically by depth of water that don't make interconnection possible. But beyond that, islands don't talk to each other and learn from each other. So when one island makes progress in renewable energy, other islands don't understand the challenges that were faced, and there's a lot of reinventing of the wheel in some respects. So I think one of the big challenges is overcoming that communication barrier that we have right now and learning from each other. Also, because we're small, isolated grids, large projects sometimes the grid can't handle large projects, and instead renewable energy needs to be implemented in small installations across the island to maximize our technical resource. However, because of the transactional cost due to small projects, it becomes a burden financially, and it could raise the cost per kilowatt installed, and thus make renewable energy uneconomic in an environment where the cost of diesel is so high. So it's quite counterintuitive sometimes when you think about it. We have high diesel costs, we have abundant sunshine, wave energy, geothermal in some islands, but because of the small scale of the project and the transactional cost and the due diligence and the fear of renewable energy being variable and unpredictable, it can really drive those costs up, and there's a lot of apprehension about implementing renewables because of those issues. At the Clinton Foundation, we really try to streamline the process so that each island learn from each other, and that we could sometimes bundle big projects together so that the transactional cost and the financing behind it, it's streamlined. So that's one of the challenges we try to overcome, we identify and try to overcome. In terms of opportunities, again, we're small grids, and when you have variable renewables on a grid, operationally it becomes a bit more challenging because you don't have the battery backup or the backup of a large grid to subsidize the energy that you don't produce at any one point in time. So in terms of opportunity, once we overcome that operational difficulty and we optimize our predictability of these resources and how we dispatch spinning reserves, I think we can lead the world and show the world that if it can be done on these small isolated grids, then it can definitely be done on larger interconnected grids. Okay, so in Trinidad and Tobago, the cost of electricity is actually quite cheap. It's 5 US cents per kilowatt hour. And what I find living here is that citizens do not appreciate energy. And at night, driving around Port of Spain, you see these tall buildings with their lights on, their air conditioning running, condensation on the windows. And even during the day, there's no conservation of energy at all. So on the field visit today, what I learned is that there are visionaries in Trinidad that are willing to pay a premium price to install renewable energy applications and measures in buildings, even though there are so many challenges, starting from when they mentioned at the port, you import renewable energy systems and energy efficient bulbs and materials, and the customs officers, they don't have, it hasn't been filtered down to the customs officers that the legislation is there to streamline the process and get this equipment into the country first of all, and then the added cost of training your construction workers to manage dust. That was mind-blowing to me. I mean, regular construction sites, just there's no thought and consideration for the surrounding communities. So just saying that they were willing to put in extra expense to implement all of those environmentally sound regulations and procedures in the construction site, I think they're leading the Caribbean in that way. In terms of the regulatory environment, there's no incentive to be energy efficient, and there's no incentive to install solar panels because really and truly the payback is many, many years and it doesn't make economic sense. So I was very impressed that RGM decided to embark upon this project, and I was even more excited that they were willing to host the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association and highlight the difficulties that they face in a very open way, and the challenges, the costs, and the opportunities to lead the way and to compare the energy saving from that building to the other buildings that they operate in Trinidad and Tobago. Okay, so in terms of the general conference, I think the timing cannot be better. In an environment of low gas and oil prices, people really question why renewables now, and why sustainability now. But the timing can't be better because now is the time when we really need to prepare for the future, and the engagement and bringing together of parliamentarians from the entire Commonwealth is invaluable because the communication that will happen in this room and the quality of the presentation will top. And by them communicating and sharing ideas, I hope that they carry back knowledge, gems of wisdom, and implement those into their country, and also build a network so that through your e-handbook that lessons can be shared, and we don't reinvent the wheel, and then together we can really lead the world in this revolution.